No, what? Let's go. Don't drop it. Come on. Okay, we're still going. Now, do any notifications go out if we do it this way? Let's find out. Um, my Facebook page, Curtis Candy Comedy. I don't. Oh, no, I don't see us live there. Hmm. And I don't think notifications are gonna. Oh wait, brother, he's here. Let's see if notifications actually go out doing things this way. I don't see the stream again. This is a multi-stream attempt. We are live on Twitch. I don't see us live on my Facebook page though. Oh no, it's on. Okay, so it went to. Okay, it went right to my main page. Gotcha. All right, that's doable. All right, now let's see if Susan sends notifications though. I'm going to guess that that's going to be a big no. Because on Twitter your account popped to Streamlabs. Like, okay, thanks, brother E. So we gotta wait and see if we're going to actually get notifications. Hey, Cordeco, as you guys come in, you're gonna have to let me know if anybody got notifications from YouTube or not. Z Hills, because a lot of you guys could just be finding your way in here through, sidebar recommendations, things of that nature. Because if this works, we'll do this more often, where I have the streams going to Twitch and Facebook all at the same time. Hey, Sergio, you got a notification, Cordeco? Okay, because if you did, if you did, then I don't have to go actually click in my notifications. Because it's a Saturday afternoon, so we all know Saturday afternoon is not a popular time on the internet. People tend to be out and about, so we won't have a ton of people anyway. So you got the notification, LT? All right, thanks, guys. Then I don't have to go back that up. Big Green's here. I'm sorry for calling Zinny the Pooh. I made a severe lapse in judgment. Yeah, when the gang gets in here, Big Green, my annoyance, anger about this whole thing with China never being held accountable for everything just knows no bounds. And for those of you who were with us in the stream the other day, we were talking about it. I want to have a stream devoted to it because it pisses me off. Lick says, what's this about Korea? I'm going to, hold on just a second, guys. Real quick, I just got thinking. I'm going to open my Twitch page just to see that everything's going there because it pisses me off. Hold on, let me. Lick says, what's this about Korea? I'm going to, hold on just quick. I just got thinking. All right, open my Twitch page. All right, let me mute that. What the hell's going on? Looks like crap on Twitch, I'll tell you that. And let me go to my Facebook page and see what it's doing. Okay, are we there? Oh, we were on Facebook a little bit ago. But now we are not. Yeah, I don't know if this is going to work. This multi-streaming is live now. Yeah, okay, so. Oh, it is live. Okay, so we are live to the other formats as well. That's kind of neat. Okay, now I'm getting a notification here. What? Error, please a keyframe frequency of 4 seconds. What? Stream health is stream status poor, and then it says stream health is healthy. I'm not worried about linking the Twitch stream. I just want to see if it went live to anybody who wanted to watch on Twitch. Winnie the Pooh just goes, oh, bother, Big Green says, and then everybody agrees that China did nothing wrong. Yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much how it goes. Fuck North Taiwan, Code says. Well, you know what it is? I told you guys the other day, and it just irritates the shit out of me how China gets away with everything. They can just have carte blanche on the world because everybody owes them money or does business with them at some level or another. And because of that, you have people like John Cena turning into total bitches. I mean, that was and you know, you can make the case for he was just looking out for his bottom line, and he was doing what his production company said they needed to do to try and ensure the health of their movie, their production. But I don't care. You're still a bitch. He didn't say anything wrong in saying that Taiwan is a country. But as soon as somebody somewhere determined that that would make Winnie upset, John Cena's out there going, I'm sorry I said they were a country. I didn't mean to offend you, Daddy China. Here, let me bend over, and you can do whatever you would like to my backside. Freaking unbelievable. Yeah, Big Green says everybody loves Chinese food, kung fu movies, and cheap products, so China gets a pass. Pretty much. See, I just keep getting these different messages up here. Now, it looks like we're okay on Twitch. Looks like we're okay on Facebook Live. I don't know why we're getting... I think the message I'm getting about stream issues is just false. Seems to be fine to me. Yeah. See, is anybody... John Cena heel turn. An unintentional one, Fluffy. Nobody's having any problems with the stream, are they? What happened was Spaz Dev, he's in the latest... Yeah, what's the movie series, guys? It's going right in my head. The title of the fucking movie escapes me now. Oh, God, I'm glad I got hit with so many of those chairs. The Fast and Furious. And Cena said something in an interview and referred to Taiwan as a country, which, of course, Winnie the Pooh in China sees them as their territory. And immediately, Cena came out and just completely bent over and exposed himself to be handled properly by Papa Winnie for suggesting such a thing. And he apologized for saying it. And then, I didn't see this, but somebody here at the in the chat the other day told me he actually made an apology in Chinese. Lick says so upsetting that would kowtow to his Disney overlord. I'm just, you know, you unleash, whether it was intentional, which I don't think, through incompetence, which I do think is very likely, or just due to the fact that you don't care about anybody else in the sense that you just allow those wet markets, knowing what a potential time bomb they are, to go on unabated. No matter what the reason is, you unleashed a vicious pandemic on the world, and if anybody tries to call you on it, it's like, shh, no, shh. It's okay. It's all right. Leave them alone. We owe them some money, and we really like buying cheap goods. So, you know, a few million people had to die. So what? Shelby says, kind of ironic that his wrestling mantra was never give up. Yeah. You know what I like better, Shelby? I think it was better when nobody could see him. He should go back to the you can't see me and live that. From now on, just we don't need to see John fucking Cena anymore. Oh, okay. Brother E says, yeah, John Cena can speak fluent Chinese. That apology made happened about 2 weeks ago. It's just absolutely stunning to me. And again, it goes on all the time here. Look at all the corporations that will say nothing negative about China. Look at all the activists in the NBA. And it doesn't have to be just the players. It's the management as well. You know, you're not throwing it just the guys who dribble the ball. It's also the guys who pay them to dribble the ball. They all seem to want to be socially conscious, which is fine. They all want to, so they say, stand up for the oppressed, unless it's China doing the oppression. Then they won't even discuss it. They don't want to talk about it because they, bottom line, I mean, China, again, the NBA basketball itself is so wildly popular in China, and they're not going to sacrifice a few dollars of income to stand up and say, hey, maybe you shouldn't be like killing dissidents and oppressing I can't pronounce the Uyghurs. I pronounce that name wrong all the time. Maybe you shouldn't be oppressing people. Like when doctors in your own country come out explaining that there is an issue with a virus that's got the potential to be going crazy here. Maybe it's better if they didn't just disappear off the face of the earth. No. We like cheap products. Yeah, that's actually kind of well put, brother. China's the celestial dragons of the real world. Kinda. Spazdev says, I don't like John Cena. I'm sad that he's in the new Suicide Squad movie and is one of the main stars. I had never had an issue with him prior, Spazdev. As a worker, as a wrestler, I didn't mind him. He wasn't one of my favorites. But I didn't see him the way a lot of people did. I don't think he squashed as many people as he was accused of and stuff. And, he worked hard to get where he was. But now as a person, I lost all respect for him. Any respect for him. Lix has got it. Funny WrestleMan go funny fast. What dead scientist? Yeah, exactly right. So that's what I think we should probably all just make a public apology video to China for anything we might say that offends Winnie the Pooh in the future, and then we can refer back to it should we ever do something as egregious as referring to Taiwan as a nation, or if we were ever to be so silly as to bring up Tiananmen Square and paint it in anything other than a positive light, that the Chinese government did exactly what they needed to do in that situation, and those students who just wanted some rights were completely in the wrong. That oh my God, that could happen too, brother. He says they're going to throw fortune cookies at John Cena when he returns at SummerSlam. Do you guys? That brings up something interesting. Do you think that's a smart move by the WWE now, given what Cena just did, to have him come back at what is going to now be a live event? That could go really, really poor. Sinister Charlie says, I, for one, welcome our Chinese overlords. Maz says, same thing the USSR tried to pull off. Buy everything in entertainment, then use Hollywood as a propaganda tool. Lenin himself said the cinema is the best propaganda tool. Very, very true, Maz. And the problem is, because of their financial influence within this country, there's major corporations, many of them, including many major news media outlets, who are perfectly willing to bend over for them. They're not going to bite the hand that feeds them. Big Green says they let Hogan back in, so they're going to do that for Cena. Yeah, I get that, Big Green, but what I mean by is it a good idea is, do you think it's going to be good for your show if, as like Brother E had alluded to, if something goes on, like people start chucking fortune cookies at him or some shit? Paul says, I think celebrities, no matter what their political beliefs are, need to shut up, do their jobs, and cash their checks. Paul, I get people feeling like that. The way I've always said that is, I think they should be allowed to give their thoughts or beliefs. But for me anyway, I don't put any more stock into what an actor or an athlete says as far as a belief as I do what you say, Paul, or what anybody else here in the stream says. They're just people who, in actors' cases, come on. Let's be fucking brutally honest. I've acted in a number of things. Actors are a dime a dozen. It's connections that get you in. Sorry. If that makes you artistes in the acting community upset, the fact is there's millions of people could do the job effectively, and you have to have the right connections. So, because they happen to have made those connections and become a successful actor or actress, does that make me want to give any more credence to their thoughts than I do any one of you guys? Of course not. Same thing with an athlete. I might admire your athleticism, probably do. I might be a big fan of your work on the field, but does that mean I put any more weight onto your thoughts on the geopolitical landscape than I do Lude's or Giuseppe's or Renee's? No. Why should I have any more, why should that carry any more clout than anyone else? Let's see. And Just P says, celebrities just want money. Simple, they don't care. You would have to break the space-time continuum to remove LeBron James's head from China's ass. And it's true. It's true. And I hesitated to say his name, not because I care. I'm not a LeBron James fan anyway. But I think it's, if we're going to mention that LeBron James is in China's pocket, which I entirely believe, it's only fair to mention that so are his bosses. I mean, it is the players that get all the heat for their unwillingness to even discuss anything that China does. But if we're going to talk about the millionaire players, let's not forget the billionaire owners who are also doing the same thing, who also want to be in the forefront of social justice and standing up for the oppressed, unless it's China. So I don't have a problem with people pointing out LeBron James at all, but don't forget, he's not alone. It's the management as well. Snack Plaskin says there are over 1 billion people in China that could have a better life as free people. True. It is one of our time's biggest tragedies that they are ruled over. I agree with you. And again, I'm going to put this disclaimer in that I always do when we discuss this. You guys know what's coming. Just let me explain. I know our hardcore group here is well aware of this. But anybody that's watches the stream, watches the video once it goes up, don't forget one very important thing. Nobody is treated more poorly by the Chinese government than the Chinese people. So because you see these things coming out of China that are bad, really bad in the case of COVID-19, taking an action against Asian people or against Chinese people makes zero sense. They're victims too. It's the Chinese government specifically that is the drizzling shits, not the Chinese people. I mean, if you go out and you want to even berate, not even necessarily physically accost, but berate some Chinese person because of what their government does, that's asinine. Because that person has probably suffered more at their hands than we ever will. Code says, I have no problems on celebrities pushing their political agendas. It's their rights to perform, their freedom of speech. The only thing I hate are people completely and blindly believe them. Exactly, Code. That's where I am. That's what I don't understand, because somebody is an actor and athlete, that there are so many people that have reverence to their thoughts and opinions. It's like, look, this dude can hit a baseball 450 feet. It doesn't tell you anything about his thought processes and how solid they may be. Could be a complete psycho lunatic. There's been plenty of them in sports over the years. So what? Because he hits a ball, dribbles a ball, can carry a ball for 2,000 yards in a season? I mean, I don't understand that. And people fall into it all the time. Mr. Croissant says, I'm scared for the live audience now because WWE has been getting rid of talent. Yeah. Not to mention John Cena failing. You can't see me, more like you can't see me, with the exception of China. Yeah. I think there's, guys, I think there's probably some element of truth to the rumors that Vince might be looking to sell to NBC, sell the WWE. You guys think? I'm just checking. I apologize. I'm checking the other streams too as we go, because we're streaming at the same time on we're streaming on Facebook and Twitch at the same time. But yes, for those of you watching on Twitch, the stream is originating over at the YouTube channel. You're welcome to come over there as well. I'm just trying this out to see how it works with the multi-streams. Hold on, let me... Wolverine says, if they eat my dog, I'm petitioning to nuke them. Very, very possible, Lude. He said, did it actually censor the word nuke because Wolverine spelled it differently? My guess would be yes. Andrew says, China has excellent John Cena detecting radar. Yeah. I was so, oh, man. I was just so disappointed in that. And I know he gets his orders from above, but I don't know. I It's easy for me to sit here and say, but I can guarantee you, and I think you guys know me well enough to know that I'm not lying when I tell you this. I'll put myself in John Cena's shoes with the amount of money he has, with what he's already accomplished. His family, his family are never going to have to worry financially. When you add that into the equation, there's no fucking way in his shoes I'm apologizing to anybody. And if the studio doesn't like it, I guess I won't be making any more movies with that studio. But I would damn sure get on my social media and tell everybody, well, I won't be making any more movies because these pussies wanted me to bend over and take it up the ass from Winnie the Pooh, and I refused to. No two ways about it. No way would I have done that. Just P says, I'm mainly just laughing at the NBA. I remember when everyone was saying, you're not just going to tell me to shut up and dribble. Then China tells them to shut up and dribble, and they just say, well, okay, you're 100% right with that. You are. You're right. When they said, don't tell me to shut up and dribble, and I was with them. I'm like, yeah, they got a right to say what they want. And then, as you say, as things unfolded, you ask any of them anything about China, and they're no comment and out. So it's like you can be told to shut up and dribble. It just depends on who's saying it. You're 100% right. Andrew says, I wonder how those meetings go. We're going to need you to apologize to China, John. Andrew, that's a good point. I would love to know how that was conveyed to him. Because it clearly was conveyed to him that he needed to take care of this and take care of it expeditiously. And I would love to know how that conversation went. That's exactly where I am, Chrome. She says, come on, Cena's a big boy. I'm sure he's made enough money and influence to at least make his own choices. He's a coward. And again, irony that the Marine bows to China. 100%. Completely agree with you. And that's why I say I try to look, I try and be fair whenever we're talking about somebody, in the spotlight and their actions. And I try and put myself in his position. And even if you could make the case, if this was a rags to riches story and this guy was still on the rags end, it's like, this making these movies is the opportunity to take care of my family forever. You might be able to say, boy, it still sucks to have to bend over like that, but I can see why the guy did it. That's not the case with Cena. You know how much money Cena made in his wrestling career, how much money he's made in advertising, what he's already made in his movie career, what he can make in the future as a legend in the WWE. He's fine. He's fine. So is his family for generations. So I don't get it. And again, I know it's easy for me to say, but I can guarantee you in that situation, there's no way. You guys know the respect thing, how big a deal it is to me. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to apologize for. I'll be the first to apologize if I say something wrong. If somebody calls me on it and I see where I'm wrong, hell, it doesn't have to be a movie studio. Any one of you guys can call me on it. It's happened many times. I'll apologize for misstating something. But he didn't misstate anything. He called Taiwan a country. It's not a misstatement. Unless you live in fear of Winnie the Pooh. Maz says, the thing is, Beijing Biden ain't going to do shit about China. His party is funded by them, and China has tons of dirt on his drug-addicted pedo son. That's a concern. I mean, and you can't say if you're going to say that people had some reason for concern with Trump and potential Russian ties, you certainly can't say that there's no concern for Biden and potential Chinese ties. They're very, very similar. Yeah, well, I mean, look at how hard they came down on Trump for even saying things like the China virus. And that's hardly, or the Wuhan virus. That's hardly the first time in history a virus has been identified by its place of origin. And when you do that, when you say don't refer to it that way, they do it under the guise of they're afraid of retribution against Asian people, which, again, anybody that even verbally goes after an Asian person because they acts of the Chinese government is just a complete and utter fucking moron. Because as I've said over and over and over, nobody is victimized by China more than Chinese people. But instead of saying, hey, you can't say that, the proper response would have been just what we're talking about, informing people that the Chinese people are under the thumb of the Chinese government. There's no sense in going after them. They're with you. Those Chinese people that you're victimizing are fellow victims as you are. You should be arm in arm with them against the Chinese government. That's what they should explain. They shouldn't stop China from having to take any responsibility for the things that they do. I heard that, Chrome. She said they renamed the Spanish flu on Wikipedia to cover for China, to claim we never referred to viruses as their point of origin. I remember when that happened. Chrome's 100% right, because that was brought up all the time when, again, there was resistance to calling it the China flu, the Wuhan virus, whatever. And people would say, why? We've noted viruses by their place of origin many times in history, and as Chrome says, there were a lot of wiki pages that were edited after that. It's pretty fucked up. It really is. Exactly. Like Big Green says, yeah, if you were to say all the Chinese were assholes, I would call you on that, but you're not doing that. You're just saying specifically just the government, and it is. Like I say, the Chinese people are victimized by their government every goddamn day. It sucks. And certainly, and what really kills me is when people are lashing out against Asians here in America. What the fuck do you think they had to do with anything? They were smart enough to get the fuck out of China. They're Americans like the rest. It's just the simple nature of people sometimes is stunning. Lude says, I gotta wonder, Dwayne, for those who don't know, he means Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, is also really big in China. He's been on several tours there. If a similar situation happened to him, would he do the same thing as China did? I hope he's got more self-respect. It's impossible to say until somebody's put in that position, Lude, but like you, I like to think that he would. I think just knowing a little bit about Dwayne Johnson and the things I know of him, I've read of him, just the same things you guys can read and have heard, and his relationship with his mom and everything. I like to think he would have too much dignity to do that. I don't think he would bend over like that. I could be wrong, but maybe I'm being too optimistic, but I don't think so. And had this never even happened, if you put those two guys to me, Cena and The Rock, and said there was going to be this incident, which one of them would give in, I would have said Cena. Code says, Trump and Russia was never a thing. Just ask the FBI and Hillary. Biden and China, on the other hand, is a different story. Hunter is under a payroll from the CCP. Well, that's what I'm kind of alluding to, Code. Whether the connection was there with Trump and Russia or not, whether there was an actual connection, it was worth investigating. I don't think it was wrong to have it looked into, and that's why I say the same should be applied here with Biden and China. It's not asking to it, but people don't want to hear that for whatever reason. Maz says, fun fact, the Spanish flu also came from China. I had read that, Maz. I had read that. And when they changed the name of the Spanish flu, they did not change that one to the China flu either. Oh, I didn't know this. Devi says, there's a mayor in Hungary who renamed streets on a Chinese district things like Dalai Lama, Tiananmen Square, Taiwan Street. Talk about big balls. I like that. I didn't know that. Yeah, that's you are correct, Debbie. That is a big honking pair of brass balls right there. I like that. Mr. Croissant says China is in such a dominant position despite what's going on. One of the biggest populations on Earth, maybe behind India, yet so many more people are oppressed there than anywhere else in Asia. I completely agree. Completely agree. The one thing I can say, though, too, is we're talking about mad mutually assured destruction and things of that nature, too. That's also why I believe China is not in a position where they are going to be aggressive towards anybody in the West militarily, just because China knows that they've got it knocked where they are right now. They're not going to take a chance on losing. See, okay, no matter what happens here in America, we're going to be under the same basic structure unless we were invaded and conquered by someone else. But just being involved in a war could do enough damage to the Chinese government that a whole new form of government could be ushered in. And so I don't think you'll ever see them involved in any type of conflict unless it was absolutely unavoidable. LT says we should have done more to finance the Chinese nationalists in the Chinese Civil War. I get what you're saying, LT. That's tough, though, too. I agree. On the surface, that looks to be the case, but anytime we start getting involved in other countries' civil wars, it's just, man, it's touchy. China and India are almost at war. Yeah, Fluffy. Yeah. Two of the biggest, if not the biggest populations in the world, too. Yeah. Mr. Croissant, also, sorry, China, I should have eaten a bat, but I was picky. I have to eat what's on my plate. I know better. Will you accept my aunt's bastard Pomeranian? I hear it tastes amazing. I like it. Doing good, Matthias. Good to have you. Chrome says China doesn't need to be directly military aggressive against the U.S. They're economically, socially, and politically aggressive against it, but they are military aggressive to our allies, Japan. Well, to a degree, Chrome, and that's what we were talking about the other day. I don't think China, just my opinion, I don't think China is stupid enough to actually take a military offensive against Japan, because China's got to know there's no two ways about it. We have to respond, absolutely have to respond, and in the position that China is in, the CCP is in, they don't want conflict. Conflict, a major conflict for China had better be, from their perspective, had better be a whitewash victory, or the odds are really good that they will no longer be in power in China. Chrome says, do you think if we trolled China hard enough, we could get them to ban honey over the Winnie the Pooh thing? Like if we got people to carry around honey pots, they banned candles in Tiananmen Square. I wouldn't put anything past them. With one thing we know for sure about Winnie the Pooh, he is hyper, super sensitive. Ask John Cena, he'll tell you. Jessica says maybe the India versus China war will solve the overpopulation crisis. Let's hope that's not how it gets solved. But especially again, I'm not, as none that I take pride in, but I don't consider myself an overly empathetic person. I think I have the the right mix of empathy. But said that, I feel bad for the Chinese people. They're under the thumb of an authoritarian government, and there's not enough knowledge allowed into the country for them to even effectively understand how oppressed they really are. Nolan says, criticize the Chinese government for shutting down the world. That's racist. Deduct SAT points from Asian American students on the basis that they're too successful. That's progressive and good. Yeah, that's a whole other area you don't. We won't. I won't go too hard into a whole different topic we could cover on another day. But yes, I am a believer in that everybody should have equal opportunity, and nobody should have a guaranteed outcome. Big Green says you have to write honey, Hunny, on the honey pot, so make it really on the nose. Fluffy says, what is the relationship between China and Russia? They have a lot of mutual goals, which are basically being at odds with the West. On the surface, most people would say China and Russia is a friendly relationship. I think if push comes to shove, it would be a very tenuous relationship, but they have a lot of shared interests. A lot of shared interests. Mr. Croissant says, Cena really bent over for China and said it's not gay if they can't see me. Honestly, can't believe he did what he did. Me too. But I'd be a hypocrite to say I wouldn't do the same if I were in his shoes. Would you though, Mr. Croissant? Now think about it. Put yourself entirely in his shoes, though. I mean, for regular old working schlubs like all of us, when we think about, man, if I don't do what the movie company tells me to do, I'm going to lose out on millions potentially in future earnings. Absolutely, that would have a big effect on us. But if you're going to put yourself in Cena's shoes, you're already financially independent. And if you think everything through, if I'm in Cena's shoes, I'm not doing it. And if the production company or the movie, whatever it is, the production company, the studio says, okay, well, we're not going to be able to do business with you anymore, I'm like, fine. But don't think I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to tell the world, sorry, I won't be in any more of Studio ABC, or that's actually a thing, Studio XYZ's movies anymore, because I refused to acquiesce to Winnie the Pooh and apologize for saying that Taiwan is a nation. See how that goes over for your movie studio. Wolverine says John Cena was recently hospitalized in the ICU. But we can't see him though, Wolverine. Maz says China and Russia basically have to be friendly with each other, two very large superpowers or former superpowers on each other's borders. Right, Maz. I agree. But like I say, I think you would agree with me. If things were, and let's hope it doesn't, but at any point, if things were to get heated worldwide and push really came to shove, I'm not sure how deep that relationship really goes. Chrome says, for example, China's been stealing Japanese territory by building artificial islands in Japanese-controlled waters, making it the new South China Sea. It's a huge, decades-old issue now. True. Oh no, they are absolutely aggressive, and have been more so recently. But like I say, when I'm talking about actual military, they're very measured in what they're doing. They try and keep their aggression to a point where they feel like they could muster, if not sympathy, at least opposition from the rest of the world as far as the U.S. getting involved with them. Everybody does, LT. He says, bro, I keep getting censored. Unfortunately, pal, I like I've told you guys before, I assure you, I have all the censorship turned off on this channel, but it doesn't matter. Susan does it anyway. As I've said over and over, I don't even know why they give us those options, because they censor everybody anyway. Code says, China and Russia's relationship really reminds me of Germany and Italy during World War II. At the end, we'll end up backstabbing each other. That's where I am too, Code. Again, on the surface, obviously, they're allied to a certain degree, but I don't see that being a deep, serious alliance. I mean, like, no matter what type of tiffs we have, America with Europe, I think that's a deep and it's a real and true alliance. I don't think you can say that about China and Russia. Nolan says, Susan, don't do me a censor. You won't like me when I'm a censor. Wolverine says the only respectable thing about Cena is the number of Make-A-Wish Foundation wishes he granted. And I always admired him so much for that. And still, I mean, in fairness, I still admire that. I mean, the guy did take literally hundreds of days out of a really busy schedule to be there for children who are very ill, and that's so admirable. And it's one of the reasons I think that actually heightens my disappointment in what he did in this whole situation. Penguin says, I don't think Russia and China are allies at all. Maybe on the surface they smile at each other, but I don't doubt they are finding ways to undermine each other right now. I would agree with that. Yeah, I would agree with that. Chrome says, big one we have to keep an eye on is China's imperialism towards Africa. They're doing economic colonialism there. I watched a Chinese documentary on their businesses there. It's pretty eye-opening. Yeah, China, I would say China is covertly trying to get their fingers in everywhere throughout the world, but it's not covert at all, really. Yeah, no, you're right, Chrome. Mr. Croissant says, how does North Korea factor into this? I know North Korea has been at odds with the U.S., and I think Trump met with a dictator. North Korea is always going to be a wild card. I mean, it's said that China is the only one with any type of real influence with them, but I don't even think China does. I mean, you know, North Korea is run by psychos. And it's always going to be just what I said. It's always going to be a wild card. They have a relationship with China, but truly North Korea doesn't have an actual relationship with anyone. So it's hard to ever figure what they might do. Maz says the wife spent a lot of time in Asia, especially China, back when she tried to play go go professionally golf. And I've heard some shit about how fucked the people have it over there. Oh, I can imagine. I can imagine just what we see, Maz, just what, slips out of China, the videos we see and stuff. It's just, that's why I say I have nothing but empathy for the Chinese people. And the Chinese government, they know what they're doing. That they control the flow of information. They keep them ignorant so the people don't even realize just how bad they have it, particularly based against the rest of the world. Good point, LT. North Korea is like the Balkans in World War I, just a powder keg. Yeah, a powder keg with a absolute lunatic holding the match at the end of the fuse. Nolan says Russia-China relationship. If they took over the world together, China would look at a map in confusion and say it's all Russia. Then Russia would shoot him in the head, saying always has been. I don't think that's far from the truth either, pal. Oh, Go is a board game. Basically chess on steroids. Oh, I never heard of it, Johnny. Really? That's kind of cool. Chess on steroids. That's kind of cool. Learned something today. I'd never heard of that. Gimster says North Korea is like a schizophrenic bipolar druggie. You never really know what's going to happen. Well, yeah, well described. That's what I mean. You can't, when we try and predict the state of the world or what's next in the world or whatever the case may be, once you involve North Korea, it's just, shooting darts at the dartboard. Who the fuck knows what they'll do next? I agree, 3Po. China gets free reign to do whatever they want because they have their fingers in almost every pie. The powers that be in almost any major country won't do anything. China has dirt on pretty much anyone. I agree. It's terrifying, and I agree with you. And we're seeing it. I mean, we're seeing it play out in real time. I mean, we just accept these things because I think they are what they are. But take a step back and think about the fact that this country, China, through either negligence or hostility, one of the two, unleashed a pandemic on the world that killed millions of people, is still raging on in large parts of the world. And what price have they paid for it internationally? What has anyone done to hold them accountable? Anything? And that's a genuine question. If anything's been done anywhere, I don't know what it is. And it's not like it just happened. We've been dealing with this for what, 16, 17 months now? And everybody's just like, no, yeah, they made a little boo-boo, but let's talk about something else. That's the way the whole world is. Chrome says the documentary is from the perspective of a small Chinese worker in Africa, and he openly mocks an African due to his face over Africa's state, while also pitting him for wasting their potential. Wow. Luke says you don't want to involve any Korea in anything, to be honest. Maya says Go is the most complex board game out there. That's kind of cool. Played a few games against the wife, and you have to think on so many levels. Pros basically trained from childhood to be good at the game. It's huge in Asia. That's really cool. Like I say, learn something new. I never even heard of that. That's really cool. ODST, unfortunately, I think that's true, at least to a certain degree. It says right now the world is in a short fuse. One wrong move from anyone and we're fucked. Yeah, it's pretty accurate. Andrew says God gave them small pee-pee. That's their punishment. Maybe that's why they're such douches. Wood says, oh yeah, we haven't heard anything from NK for a while. Is Kimmy Boy still discovering unicorns and building up his world-destroying nuclear arsenal? As far as I know, yes. I mean, he did a little saber rattling. What was it, a month or two ago? But yeah, once he needs attention again, we'll hear from him without a question. Small dick energy from trying to write lewd. Wild spaz kid appears, Sandra says. Drunk says for Halloween, I'm guessing it's Kim Jong Un. You got drunk. You got to do it in the Winnie the Pooh style, though. The Winnie the Pooh morphed face with his. Was it definitely the Chinese government who unleashed COVID-19? Emma asked. Well, it originated in China. As we were talking earlier, Emma, we've got it down to a few potential manners in which it started. Did it come from the filthy conditions in those wet markets, allowing a virus to jump from animals to humans? Or did it come from the lab that is in Wuhan? And we know that they do that type of genetic work there. And that's not to say if it came from the lab, that's not to say, because I don't even lean that way. If it came from the lab, I'm more willing to bet it was accidental in its release. But I'm not sure the fact that it existed, if it came from the lab, was not nefarious in nature. There could be a reason that they were creating this virus. Do I think they meant to unleash it on the world right now? I might, again, just my guess. I don't think so. Would I be shocked beyond belief if that were the case? No. I like that, just be. China's government are the types of people who own a pickup truck with big wheels and a loud engine. Very good. Mr. McJigglybit says, hello, hope everyone's doing well. We're having a good time, having a good conversation. Chrome says a lot of politicians look at Chinese politics with envy. That's sad but true. They want to copy the Chinese system, especially with censorship. They can't do that politically, so they use companies. That's a cynical viewpoint, but I don't think it's an inaccurate one, Chrome. I think you're right. I think a lot of, come on, we see it in America all the time. Look at the insane amounts of ego that are involved in politics. Would most of our politicians like to be the begin all and end all rule maker of everything in this country? Bet your ass they would. Nolan says their government kept it under wraps for months and allowed outgoing travel while banning incoming travel. The government unleashed it. That's, I can't come up with any real cognitive defense against that to say you're wrong. Now did it escape intentionally? I don't know. Chrome says, I've actually been tempted to show you the Chinese documentary one day. Full thing's on YouTube, and it's pretty eye-opening how the Chinese view Africa and Africans. I mean, there's got to be, at some point, if things continue the way they are, there has got to be a point of reckoning with China by the rest of the world at some point someday. I mean, we keep kicking the can down the road, and I understand why. Nobody wants conflict, but how long do we let them keep doing these types of things? Right. 3Po says, even if the release was an accident, they still knowingly did what they did. Right. Even if, and I agree with that, if they did not mean to release the virus at that point, and what 3Po is saying is true, because we can see it, they did shut down incoming travel and continued to let their people travel abroad rather than just isolating and shutting down the whole country. You're right. But I hate to say it because it infuriates me, but I don't think they're ever going to really be held accountable for this. I think the governments of the world, and America right at the forefront of that, is more than willing to just let it all be water under the bridge, get swept under the rug. They're hoping, the vaccines have been working really well so far. We don't have a variant that we know can evade the vaccine for sure yet. So if things continue this path, and particularly if we put COVID-19 in the rearview mirror, I don't think China will ever pay any consequences for this. Nolan says, when you think about it, they're basically the equivalent to Vegeta letting Cell achieve his final form. Yeah, yeah. LT says, depends on who we elect if China gets held accountable. I think there, to some degree that's true, LT. I just don't know from our politicians, even if you have someone at the top who wants to hold them accountable, I don't know if within the halls of Congress you can get enough support for that. Especially, as I said, if COVID-19 goes into the rearview mirror. Now, if we keep having issues with this as months go by, that's a different story. But if the vaccines lead to either the control or eradication of this particular coronavirus, I think they get off scot-free. Trump says Spaz chair for ruler of the world. All hell the chair. Nah, Spaz chair is sliced up and in the dumpster. Well, now in the landfill. Yeah, true. Snack Plaskin says if the U.S. goes to war with China, this whole Earth thing won't last. Unfortunately, very, very possibly. That's where it comes in. Because on a large-scale war, though, guys, we all think nuclear because, you know, that's the ultimate weapon that we know of that exists on this planet. But if there was ever a large-scale war of that nature between superpowers, then it becomes I think it's where the tech lies. It becomes a case of who has advanced technologically further, because that's going to be the determining factor more than just the number of nukes. I think. What I'm trying to say is, I think all the nations have weapons that are much more efficient than nuclear weapons. We just don't know about them. Oh, okay. Check Chrome's her current post there. For anybody who wants to see it or bookmark it, it says found it. It's called Empire of Dust. Full things on YouTube here for anyone who wants it. I'd maybe even pay for a clip on a vid stream. I'll just go bookmark it. Let me open it in a new window. Oh, what went wrong? Oh, okay. Hold on a second. This little dog who unplugged something when you get to oops, something went wrong on YouTube is kind of goofy. All right, hold on. Let me bookmark this. If I can remember how to bookmark. Because I'm not so smart. SMRT. Okay, got it. No, that's for sure, Bylos. We so don't need war anymore. We don't. No, we certainly don't. I gotta say, though, I believe right now, and I take no pride in saying this, is just my honest opinion. As far as war, I think we're closer to being on the verge of it within this country than we are internationally. Let's see. Safe says, or so we'll have an intergalactic war on our hands, depending on how far tech has gone, I assume. Yes. Chrome says, whose interception ability for missiles and fighter planes will probably play a big part in a war of superpowers. Exactly, Chrome. That's what I mean. That's why I think it's going to, if that were to happen, it will be a war of technology. Whoever has advanced technology the furthest will likely win the war, not the one who has the most bombs. Prismo says, no, it doesn't. We are in permanent peace. I have no idea what you're talking about. And if you mean, who are you talking about as in we? Because it's not the world, because the world is currently not in peace at all, let alone permanent. Irene says, though the loss of life is tragic, part of me wonders if we got lucky with COVID in a way. If it was a biological weapon that leaked early, we could have been introduced to it in a much scarier form. Yeah, I mean, I guess you could look at it from that perspective as far as no matter how bad something is, I guess it could always be worse. But considering that no matter how it actually began, it was clearly avoidable, that's what makes it really egregious. whether it was just not doing that kind of research in their lab, or if it was just making sure that their nation had some standards of hygiene in not allowing those wet markets. Either one of those, either one of those two things, depending on where it came from, if they had been the case, it wouldn't have been here. Snack says, we're going to see things this summer in the U.S. that is directly funded by the CCP. Just be good to your community and help others. Well, there's no question that China has successfully gotten their financial fingers deep into our society already. And yes, they're always looking for more. ODST says, like I said, we're on a short fuse. World War III is probably going to happen in either 2025 or 2030. I don't know. I just, with something like that, you like to think that the cooler heads needing to prevail will prevail. But yeah, the state the world's in, it could be sad but true thing. Lick says we may be fighting World War IV with sticks and stones, but World War V is going to have laser guns and giant robots. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be full-on mecha, Licks. Oh, that's good. Maz says, I think the only way outside of war to deal with China is financially. I agree. China, as far as I know, is not in the green. They are using more money than they actually have just to keep peeps in debt. Yes, their strong economic wave ebbed some time ago. So yes, I agree. I think you're right with that, the overall premise there. Andrew says, I hope World War III is a children's card game between world leaders. Yeah, absolutely, a children's card game or a good old fashioned fist fight. Let them just beat each other up or something. Wait a second. Monk in disguise. I can read. Oh my God. Hey dude, are we chatting CCP and shiz? Yes we are. Yes we are. Big Green says, but then Japan is going to have the advantage with all their Gundams and Evangelion robots. Yeah. I know. Japan's just sitting there waiting for that war. Going, come on, bring it to me. All the Japanese people running to get in their mechas. Getting their Gundams. Yeah, Gimster's got it. So World War IV is Dr. Stone and World War V is Gundam. Correct. Spot on. Hi, Callum. Chrome says, the U.S. and a few other countries tariff China. While moving at least some of their manufacturing power out of China, they'd collapse. They're pretty brittle, especially infrastructure-wise. True. True. What's your space, Keith? Yeah, that's true. And as Maz alluded to, that's economically is definitely the way to get to them. But then we go back to the whole, can you get a worldwide effort to take an action against them? I don't think they can. Even, well, let's without being overly cynical, let me put this to you guys and tell me what you think. Say that investigation that supposedly is going on into the origins of COVID-19. Say somehow, miraculously, China wasn't able to just by now have completely diluted every piece of information that would incriminate them. Say somehow we proved unequivocally that it did come from their lab and they were experimenting with these types of viruses. Now, whether they released it on purpose or not, we can prove that they were experimenting with this type of viral potential warfare. Do you think there would be an honest and severe reaction from the world community, or would they basically still just get away with it? What do you guys think? It moves, Philo says. Because I'm not convinced there would be. I think there'd be a lot of gums flapping, a lot of lip service, but I don't know that they would really do all that much to them. Oink says, I think a world war is fairly unlikely because of how reliant a lot of countries are on China, so there'll be a lot of hesitation when it comes to attack them. True. Code says, Winnie the Pooh probably didn't discover anime titties yet. He's that way. Once he gets addicted to them, will probably change his mind for good. If anime titties, excuse me, can convince you that the world needs to go on, nothing can. Ma says, I think we can take a collective effort against China once they actually start collecting on their debts in mass. Nothing like greed to make politicians go all anti-CCCP. Yeah, true. Big Green says my answer is slap on the wrist. That's where I am, Big Green. I think that's exactly what they'd get. Lick says they'd get away with it. It's all about big business. Yep. Isn't that sad? And again, I'm not trying to be cynical. That's my honest answer. Same as Big Green. I think they'd get a slap on the wrist and that's it. Chrome says, might be a bit controversial, but I think China and a few other countries use people's aversion to war to their advantage. They know if they push the envelope right, they can get away with a lot. I agree with that. I think that they like to flex their military capabilities to keep people in line. Absolutely, to intimidate people, no doubt. Monk in Disguise says, on a side note, though, I'm incredibly stoned. It's really way out, and I'm chilling watching your vids. This is a good life. No problem, pal. Ed Edgar's in. He says, World War IV were to happen, God forbid. Which other countries get involved? Which sides do those countries take? I think it probably, a lot of it depends on how the war begins, Ed. I mean, how everything starts to unfold. But if it's actually World War IV, I mean, most all developed nations are going to be involved to some level. They have to be to protect their own interests. Excuse me. Andrew says, pretty sure biological weapons are banned. They are. Not saying all countries still don't experiment, but to let one escape is serious negligence. Yeah, and you're right. Biological weapons are banned, but we'd be wildly naive to think that just because they're banned, that nations, possibly even including ours, don't still experiment with them. Johnny K says, these are the consequences of making one country the factory of the world. Very good point, Johnny. That's true. They're out there producing those super cheap goods and products that everybody else wants. They want that in the marketplace. They need it for their economies. Yeah, you're right. You're 100% right. Big Green says, man, I should have really been drunk for this doom and gloom stream. I promise the next topical stream we do, I'll make sure that it's of a happier nature. Right, like Chrome says, chemical weapons are banned, yet we've seen them be used. Yeah, I mean, it would be insanely naive to think that countries aren't experimenting with biological weapons. Johnny says, won't the other countries' armies have to order all their stuff from China? It's so sad how not far from being the truth that is. Wick says, why do we keep saying World War IV when World War III hasn't even happened yet? Is this one of them sequels that skips a whole other sequel? I think people are just bored with the idea of World War III by now, Wix, and they just want to move on. Nolan says, other countries in the absence of World War. America, you suck and you're the laughing stock of the world. Then war strikes. America, please help. I didn't mean it. We need you so we can keep existing. Well, as I've said, that's why I'm not for reducing military spending. Because it's just the position we are in. Whether it's for better or worse, it's the position we're in geopolitically. We need to have an ultimately strong military, I believe, as a deterrent to something really bad happening throughout the world. And the reason I'm not against cutting military spending is because I'm hoping that there's a significant amount of money being put into those types of tech that we were talking about earlier that we know nothing about. You can't honestly think we can look at the military budget and know that that's where all the money is spent. You know that they're developing things. We hope that they're developing things that we know nothing about. They better be, or we're in trouble. Because I guarantee you, China and Russia are. Right, that's true. Code says it's war. There's no such thing as ban. Fairness is out of the equation when it comes to survival, and that's why I say it'd be naive to think that nations don't experiment with creating any type of weapon. They are. Chrome says, guess we could include the Cold War as World War III. Technically, we're in another Cold War. If you think the old Cold War end, that is, and didn't just morph into a new form, right? Yeah, like you say, Chrome, could be just... Yeah, we celebrated the Cold War end, with the fall of the Berlin Wall and stuff, but you're right, it kind of just morphed into a new costume, basically. You're right. Luke says World War III had pretty shitty PvP. Let's be real. WW4 is going to have great online and a cool story mode. we got to get the writers to work on World War IV right now. All right, guys. Well, I got to go. Thank you for this stream. This was an absolute blast. And my aggravation with John Cena in specific and the whole thing with China in general, it's not that it gets assuaged, but it's fun to have others to talk to who feel very much the same way as do I. But they're just, right now, China's just living life above the law. And it really pisses me off, but I guess there's not much we can do about it. But thank you for this stream. I really enjoyed this. This was a fun conversation. To anybody watching on Twitch or Facebook, I'm going to go review, see how all this did at those mediums. And if it seemed to work out well, we'll do this multi-stream thing more and more often. Now, for any of you who might be new to this, because we are on Twitch and Facebook at the same time, at the end of many of our live streams, I distribute something to the gang here that's highly sought after, and it's also really, really gross. So if you're not into grossness, you might want to say goodbye right now, because it's Saturday. We haven't had a Saturday stream in ages. We've got to distribute a little bit of sticky stuff for a Saturday live stream. I mean, there's just no two ways about it. Exactly. As you can see in the chat, Andrew's ready, Oink is ready. People know this is the important stuff. And it's Saturday. Saturdays are fucking awesome. So the sticky stuff is going to be great. Get ready for it. Pumpu, pumpu. Sticky stuff for you. Sticky stuff for you. Sticky stuff for you. Weekend sticky stuff for everybody, because we'll bang, okay? Flashly like Buggy. And as always, most importantly, and it doesn't fear the CCP ever. Goosh, 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 goosh. Goosh.